Hello, everyone. It's me. It's Enrique. Welcome to another BRAP rant because it's for the cause. What's going on, everyone? Since I don't have any fancy music or graphics as my introduction, that is my intro for you all. Um, so, as many of you know, we normally do a Wednesday night podcast, but there wasn't a lot of news this week. Kind of a slow news week for gaming for the most part. And with E3 right around the corner, we're saving our pre E3 show, our preview show for next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I did want to go ahead and do another BRAP rant, which I did this Monday. I had so much fun doing the other one. I thought, what the hell? I'll go ahead and do another live rant instead of going to Upload Studio and laying down laying down some tracks, as they say, and doing all the editing and whatnot. I'll just shoot from the cuff, off the cuff, and do something live. And hopefully we get some people in here in the live chat and answer some questions. But with speaking of E3, with E3 right on the corner, I believe it's 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. We're getting close. We're getting really close to E3, and you know, I think a lot of people, a lot of gamers are interested in to see what the developers have in store for us, what the console manufacturers, Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft have in store for us. And oh wow, I'm watching. This is crazy. So I just pulled Twitter up, and the police have released the dash cam video of Tiger Woods' DUI arrest. Now, would they do this for anyone else? Oh, this is crazy. They took off Tiger's hat. He's getting handcuffed. Oh man, this is crazy. You got to be feel bad for Tiger Woods. And I don't mean to go off the rails here, but geez, man, that guy is just. I mean, talk about falling from the mountaintop. We all know about his scandal, his affairs, his sex scandal, if you will, and now this is his DUI. And the police, and the worst part is the police release the dash cam video on him. They probably wouldn't do this for any other ordinary citizen. Anyhow, um, so as I was saying, so E3 is right around the corner, and we're all interested in seeing what Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft are going to have in store for us as gamers. And I think there's been a lot of podcasts, a lot of conversations around where Microsoft is going with the Xbox One, and some of it's based on just fanboys putting out videos because they hate Microsoft and they're just looking to take a shot. I do think but there's a lot of other videos out there that have been done about the direction of Microsoft and the Xbox One, just based on curiosity and kind of the intrigue of where Microsoft is heading, because it is intriguing. If you look at where the Xbox brand has come from, the OG Xbox in 2002 through the glory days of the 360 to the uh, you know the bad reveal and bad 2013 that they had, and to where they're at today. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I think that for the most part, a lot of people talk about it because they are fascinated by kind of um, what's happened with Microsoft and the Xbox One, and how kind of Microsoft's kind of evolved um, as a console manufacturer, because they have changed. They've certainly um, seem to me, at least, to be going maybe in a different direction than, let's say, Sony. We know Nintendo kind of marches to the beat of their own drum. That's always been the case in Nintendo. I don't see that changing. We see Sony. You could argue that maybe Sony is more of a traditional console maker. You could certainly debate that. Um, but this rant really is where's the Xbox going? I mean, we're close to E3, and a lot of people have discussed this on Twitter and in gaming forums. I've seen this covered in gaming forums. I've seen or listened to different podcasts talk about this. Um, and some of us, myself included, think that perhaps maybe Microsoft is going to a maybe services oriented product. Like maybe that's where the Xbox is going. I've heard people say that perhaps the Xbox is going to be the Steam box, if you will, and some of that has to do with some things that have taken place over the last year or two. More recently, we all know about Phil's comments regarding, where he sees gaming a Netflix type service for gaming, and those things, those comments, I think for a lot of people, maybe in gaming forums and on social media, on places like Twitter, kind of raise a little bit of eyebrows. When you hear Netflix and you hear gaming in the same sentence, and you hear these things come from the head of the Xbox division, Phil Spencer, and you think to yourself, "Wow, okay, well, what does that mean?" Microsoft is launching the Xbox Game Pass program. Actually, officially kicks off tomorrow, and that is essentially really kind of like the first like Netflix, true Netflix type service on a gaming console. Um, I think it's a great value. By the way, I think it's a good value for some gamers, not for all. For someone like me, it's probably not something that I would invest in. I'm my backlog is real. I got I got stuff on the Switch. I have stuff on the PlayStation. I have stuff on the Xbox that I haven't even touched. I haven't got to yet. So my backlog is real. But for someone who's new to the Xbox One console, new to the ecosystem, or maybe somebody who doesn't own a lot of games, this is an opportunity to um, get a good catalog of games, and there's some benefits there too. I mean, you're not streaming games; you're downloading them. You do have the opportunity to buy these games at a discounted price, and that kind of experience, or the way that a gamer is consuming gaming or having those experiences is very much a services type of platform. And so you may remember last year we heard about Xbox and Windows coming together. That was kind of a big deal. And by the way, if I'm pausing here as I chat, I'm actually in DM right now, DMing some folks. But um, you guys may remember like 2 years ago, there was the Xbox Windows thing, which effectively would turn any Windows 10 PC into an Xbox, and that was part of Microsoft's efforts to really kind of adapt to a kind of changing industry and kind of recast itself, or kind of reposition itself as a multi-device services company. I mean, that's very much something that Satya Nadella is really pushed, and it makes sense. I mean, if you look at who their competitors are as a company, Microsoft kind of has to head in this direction for its own survival. They have to evolve, and the question is how does Xbox fit into that? And that's interesting because if I think about this, like if I compare and contrast what the two consoles are doing, and I've had a lot of conversations with different gamers about this. And again, this isn't. Yeah, I just want to, and it's crazy I even have to say this. This isn't a bash against the Xbox. Um, hey, Novi Nov, what's up, man? Novi Nov's in the live chat. He joined us last week. Thank you for stopping by, man. I appreciate it. Um, so if you look at Sony and you look at Microsoft, and I had this conversation with other gamers who follow the industry, and I've had this conversation with some developers too. If It's interesting. It's enough that Microsoft is or the Xbox is an important component or piece of Microsoft, but it isn't Microsoft's bread and butter. You know, um, the PlayStation 4 or the PlayStation console is probably more important to Sony than perhaps maybe Xbox is to Microsoft. Now we can debate. Others may have a different opinion. Others may feel that, you know what, Enrique, that's crap. That's bullshit. It's not true. In my opinion, I think it is. I think that for Sony, the Sony console is the centerpiece of their business, and it drives a lot of revenue for that company now. You know, it's not TV, it's not Walkmans. The Walkmans don't exist anymore. It's not Betamax. Um, if you don't know what Betamax is, it was the competitor to the VHS, but that's years ago. Um, like 30 plus years ago, before there was DVD players. Um, kind of date myself there, but yeah, I think that's why you see maybe Sony willing to take more chances with um, greenlighting certain game development projects. We talked about this on BRAP before. Knack 2 is getting a sequel. You look at games like um, you can look at games like Neo, which was in development for like 12 years. You know, you look at a game like Horizon Zero Dawn. The game was in development for 5 years. You look at, I mean, we could talk about The Last Guardian. I mean, who thought The Last Guardian would ever come out, right? It was like 10 years in the making. So, and in some part, that's cultural too in a lot of ways. And when I mean cultural, I don't mean because Japan's a Japanese company, Microsoft's a company based in the U.S. I mean culture in the sense of company culture, meaning that internally, Sony gets it. They have an understanding of game development. They understand the risks involved. They have Sony as a company has been into other areas of entertainment, movies, and music. So people get that. People get the creative piece that goes into making entertainment, if you will, and gaming is a creative art form. It's a form of entertainment. Um, but that kind of begs a question to me, like with regards to where Microsoft's heading right now. And the question is so is the Xbox, is it becoming like the Steam box? Is it going to become the Steam box? Is Microsoft focusing on Xbox as a service? And as I think about this, I know it's not a popular topic for some of the Xbox diehard. And look, it doesn't mean that the Xbox One sucks. I'm not saying that. And it's crazy. I even have to preface it that way. But what I'm saying is, I think long term, and what we're seeing, I think the vision for Microsoft is for Xbox to be a service, or Xbox as a service. I think what you're seeing now, and you think about what Phil Spencer said about, um, single player experiences, which he was right about. I mean, obviously, um, games that kind of take on that games as a service model, are going to generate or have more legs in terms of generating revenue than single player games. I get that. Obviously, Microsoft as a company is looking at, revenue. And I get the sense, and I could be wrong, and this is just me this is speculation on my behalf, that maybe Microsoft is a little risk adverse when it comes to content, game development. And I feel like I feel like, what, the message was games in the beginning. And they released some games, and the games didn't sell well. We know Halo 5 did well. Gears didn't sell as well as they had thought it would. Gears of War 4. We know about I was going to say, they have that partnership with Insomniac Games, Sunset Overdrive. Hell of a game. Didn't sell well. Remedy put out Oh shit, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank um, with the game Remedy put out. That's crazy. It'll come back to me here in a sec. Um, I had a long day at work, so I may be forgetting some things. We know about Recore. Recore didn't sell well. We know the challenges, development challenges they had with Scalebound, with Platinum Games. If some of you may or may not know, there's this thing going around, or it has been going around, that Platinum was using some of the development funds or monies from Microsoft to fund some of the other projects they were working on. And perhaps that's what led to ultimately the cancellation of Scalebound. We know about Fable Legends. We know about that game being canceled. We know about Microsoft closing down some of their other first-party studios. And so for me, like, just kind of stepping back and looking at all these things and looking at, I'm sorry, Quantum Break. I can't believe I fucking didn't remember that game. When you think of Quantum Break, right? A Microsoft exclusive. And Remedy, Remedy's a great pedigree, has made some great games, Alan Wake, the Max Payne series. But when you look at that game didn't sell well. And so, I'm thinking to myself, the talk went from games, and, the best, lineup in Xbox history. And it seems from a sales perspective, that Microsoft could be feeling a little bit of that, could have some feeling some adversity, taking risk on game development. Because let's face it, game development is very risky. It is, and it's more expensive these days. Big AAA games are really expensive. Um, Gone are the days where if you sold 1 million copies, that was considered a success. I believe the break-even point now is 5 million copies sold. So when you think about that, and you think about Microsoft as a business, Phil has people he has to answer to. The shareholders have to be happy. And you look at the Xbox Live platform, and the Xbox Live platform is interesting because it opens up revenue streams to Microsoft. And Microsoft is a for-profit company. They only care about making money, as most for-profit companies do. They didn't become one of the largest companies in the world without having that point of motivation, of generating profit. So, yeah, and so Novi Novi, yeah, you're right. I that's why I brought up that point. Novi Novi in the live chat said, "Wow, great point. They're coming from that marketing line, best games lineup ever. It flopped for them. They're definitely afraid." I think there's some adversity in terms of taking risk on themselves, internally funding new IPs. And look, I could be wrong. Again, this is my speculation, but I think it's worth thinking about. And I think that when you look at the messaging now, when you hear Phil's messaging about gaming and creating a Netflix type service for games, when you look at what they've done with Mixer, when you hear him saying the best Xbox is going to be the best place to experience games, and you think about Scorpio, and you think about the power of Scorpio, and really from a marketing perspective from Scorpio, the argument for Microsoft is, um, you know, you want to experience the best versions of multi-plat games, come over to us, buy an Xbox One Scorpio. And I really think that's going to be the push for them. I think that is going to be what they're going to be focused on. And on top of that, we think about gaming experiences. We think about, you think about, like, hey, Matty Beast, what's going on, man? You think about, like, when Phil talks about experiencing gaming, and to me that means, like, not just like playing games, but how we consume games, how we interact with our friends. I know that interaction with your friends on Xbox Live is something that Microsoft has kind of spoken to or kind of talked about for a long time um, with the Xbox Live platform. I mean, I remember Ed Freeze getting on stage at E3 and talking about how you could interact with your friends, and so I see them. I see these when I see things like Mixer and I see things like the Xbox Game Pass, and those things are very much service based type things for the Xbox console. And by the way, Mixer isn't going to be exclusive to the Xbox console. Phil Spencer is very open to the idea and would be okay with Mixer, um, being on the PlayStation. He has said that. He has said that, which is interesting because why not keep something like that exclusive to the Xbox console? And again, you don't keep that exclusive to the Xbox console because Microsoft is a multi-platform services-based company now. That's the direction they're going. And I don't think that the Xbox is immune to this idea. I think they have to evolve with the way the company's heading in order to survive. I don't see that not happening. Um, and that's why I kind of again wanted to have this discussion and kind of go on this rant, if you will, about where Xbox is heading. And it's I'm not sure how I'm not sure how I feel about it. I've been gaming for 40 years, not 40 years. I've been gaming for 35 years. And Novi Nov says when Microsoft bought Minecraft, I saw this coming. Yeah, I mean Microsoft. I mean Minecraft is one of those games that Phil talked about. You know, that has a lot of legs, drives a lot of revenue. And look, I get it. I get it. There's a $1 billion industry. There's a lot of money to be made out there. There's a lot of money to be made putting out content that fits that games as a service model. And I get that. And so I really I think E3 is going to tell us a lot. I really do. And I think the other thing that kind of like concerns me maybe is we know like I hear fanboys argue a lot on Twitter. Or I should say hear, but read some of the tweets on Twitter with some of the fanboys, and it's like they always kind of like to take shots at Sony. Oh, well, Sony shows their games at E3, but they're not coming out to like 2018, 2019, 2020. Yeah, that's true. I mean, to an extent, that's true. But as a gamer, I have a roadmap of where they're going, of what kind of content I can expect from them. What do we know? What do I know as a consumer beyond this year? What Microsoft's going to be offering 2018, 2019? I don't think I don't think Sea of Thieves was coming out, by the way, this year. I think that game is going to get pushed back to 2018. We'll definitely see Forza come out this year. That's a given. We will see. I think we'll see. I was going to say State. Well, State of K2 is coming out, and I think we'll see Crackdown 3 come out. I think we'll get a Ori and the Blind Forest 2 announcement. But I mean, but what else is coming out? I mean, what other games do they have? Like, where's the roadmap? Like, and that's the part I think where, and look, and this is the thing, like if you're, and it's not like, I think people think that when you raise this question of, well, what games do they have? Where's the roadmap? That somehow you're bashing Microsoft. No, you as a consumer, you're asking yourself, okay, I bought this console, I spent all this money. Like, what's coming to me? And that's a legitimate question to ask. And like, I don't. That's like the $1 million question. Like, what else is coming on down the road? Like, what else do they have that is going to get me excited about turning on my Xbox One? Scorpio's great. I think Microsoft has put together a powerful console. We know that, um, based on what Digital Foundries um, what they shared with Digital Foundry. Um, I've kind of been back and it's funny. I've been back and forth with the Scorpio, um, because we see things like Destiny, where we're not getting 30 frames a second, and we can argue, till the cows come home, whose fault it is. Um, whether it's Bungie being lazy, or Ibarra has been out there saying, oh, it's not a it's we're not forcing parity, and I'm paraphrasing here. We're not forcing parity, but it's up to the developers how they use the power. What's interesting, though, with some of Ibarra's comments, and I think this is something that was mentioned on Podcast Unlocked, Ryan McCaffrey show, who we've had on BRAP, by the way. Um, is someone, I think it was Dustin Aguirre, who brought this up, that it was interesting. It's interesting how Ibarra has mentioned that or Microsoft too has mentioned it's up to developers how they use the power, but they haven't come out and said, hey, yeah, as a matter of fact, Destiny could hit 4K native 60 frames a second on our console if the developer chooses to. We haven't heard that messaging, and I find that interesting. And that's not to say that it can't. Yeah, and I'm not saying this to kind of stir any controversy or fuel any fanboy arguments. No, I think it's a legitimate question to ask. Like, they've said it's up to developers, but they haven't come out and said, "Yeah, hey, our console can do that." And this is why, like, I've kind of been back and forth with Scorpio. For me, it's just a matter of, what? Let me wait. Kind of the conclusion I've drawn to now. Let me wait and see what this box is actually going to do. Let me see how these games are going to run before I run out and potentially spend, um, $500 on a brand new console. You know, look, I'm going to. They need to show me. Um, they need to show me. They need to show consumers, gamers, why they need to go out and have this console. Because for a lot of us, we already spend $500 on the launch console. And it's funny. Mike Mullis from Next Level Gaming always says that these are apology consoles, the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One Scorpio, and he says it all the time. And so yeah, so for me, it's, look, I've already spent $500, and now you're telling me that in order for me to have the best experience, I need to spend another $500. Well, I need to make sure that if I make that investment again, that it's worth that $500. I'm never, we got to remember something as consumers. Like, these companies, it's their job to market, to hype things, to get us, all to get us excited about these consoles. That's their job. That's their job. You see Aaron Greenberg out there, he's hyping Scorpio. You see a bar out there, he's hyping Scorpio. That's their job. That's their job to do that. But it's also their job to show us the goods, to show us how these games are going to run on the Xbox One Scorpio. And to me, I'm not making a purchasing decision until I get more information and until I see um, how these games actually run on the console. Um, if it's a situation where we see more 4K 30 or 4K checkerboarding, um, I just may wait till we get a true next gen console. Whether it's the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox, the next Xbox after the Scorpio. I may wait. I may wait to get that true next gen experience where you can truly get 4K native, 60 frames a second and whatnot. So, um, Novi Nov in the live chat agrees with me that these are apology consoles. So, yeah, I mean, Mike's been Mike Mullis on Next Level Gaming has been he's been adamant about that these are apology consoles. I don't know, I don't know. Maybe they are. I don't know. I can't say that um, that they are. Maybe they are. Um, I know that when so by the way, if you haven't checked out the TXR podcast, they go live Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They had Seamus Blackley, one of the founding fathers of the Xbox, and he said that these consoles were because if you look at where we are on the console generation or the console cycle, historically console cycles, except for last console generation, have always been 5 years. And so here we are in 2017. We're in year number 4, coming up this fall. And traditionally or historically, this would be the time where we would, learn or hear about new next gen consoles. Um, and he said that the console iterations or iterative consoles um, are kind of a safe way for Sony and Microsoft to put out a new product without technically being a next gen console, and by doing so, not setting the bar high in terms of what consumers expect from these consoles. And he said that in the interview on the TXR had with him, and it kind of it made sense from a risk perspective. Because you're not forcing developers to learn a new system and whatnot. There's probably less risk involved from a development standpoint too, in the expectation of what gamers expect in a next gen console. Um, so yeah, and maybe Mike's right. Maybe these are apology consoles because, like Mike says, we're still not getting 1080p native on both consoles, and that's true. We're not. um, and so he says, how are they going to get to 4K? And these are like concerns that people have. I don't think it's. I know a lot of times people want to kind of downplay these concerns, but I think they're valid concerns. Given what we're seeing today. And that's why I say, for me, it's just a matter of, kind of waiting till E3 and seeing what Microsoft has to offer. But I got to say, I think, I go back to my original point. I do really think, and I could be wrong, they could come out there and Microsoft be like, boom, welcome to the job site, baby. They could say that. And they could show 8 new IPs from their first party studios, and I could be eating massive crow. But I do think that they are heading towards a games as services model. And I think that for them it's, hey, let's put the risk on third party developers. Let them take the risk. We'll reap the benefits in terms of making a strong platform like the Scorpio. We'll make money off licensing. We'll make money off subscription services. Boom. We don't have to take all those risks, and they'll still pump out Gears and Halo because they know that those are games that are proven commodities. They're going to sell well, and yeah, I that's the direction I see them heading. I just don't see them investing in new first party IPs, new franchises, new characters, and I don't know for me. And it's interesting because I've owned every Xbox console. I was a Xbox Live beta tester. Um, I remember how aggressive Microsoft was in trying to bring content to the console, um, and also build Xbox Live as a service for gamers. And the Xbox, I even like I even have said this before. Like, to me, the OG Xbox it's the best Xbox, or the second best Xbox console to the 360. I find it to be a better console in terms of content over the Xbox One. I know that sounds crazy, but I just do. I mean, you look at how aggressive they were. They went after they took risks. They had some phenomenal exclusive content on that system. A lot of that was uh, maybe timing at the time where they had Peter Moore heading up the Xbox division, and he was just recently at the time it was coming off the Dreamcast, and he had a little bit of a bone to grind with Sony, but they were able to get a lot of those franchises. Panzer Dragoon Orta, which is a fucking phenomenal game. Games like a Toji. I mean, those games were, and I believe Toji may have been a time exclusive, but it was exclusive for a little while at least. But then they had Ninja Gaiden. I mean, such an iconic franchise. Uh, by I always forget his Itagaki is his last name, but I always forget his first name. Who was formerly of Team Ninja. I mean, he loved developing for the OG Xbox and was very vocal about it. But they had these games, they had these relationships with developers. They were aggressive early on in the 360 era. We look at the lack of JRPGs on the Xbox One. At least for right now, Nier Automata hasn't been announced for the Xbox One. Maybe that game possibly comes. It did, I believe, it did sell 1.5 million, including physical and digital, if I'm not mistaken. But look, they don't have a Persona 5. They don't have a Neo. And Persona 5, by the way, for those of you who haven't played it, is a great game. I think it's definitely better than I enjoyed it more than Final Fantasy 15. I'll say that much. It's one of the best games I've played. A big shout out to Maddie Beast in live chat. Maddie saying it's tough. It's a tough market for the consoles. TV market changed significantly since 2013. Think they're trying to keep up. Novi says nobody has a 4K TV. I wouldn't say nobody has a 4K TV, Novi. I will say that the adoption rate isn't as high with regards to 4K as it was with regards to 1080p TVs when this console gen launched. Maddie's saying adoption rate is faster than HETVs. Maddie, I've seen numbers suggesting that by 2019, 33% of households will have 4K TVs. I think the issue with 4K right now is a lack of content. You walk into Best Buy, you still don't see a lot of 4K content. HD Blu-rays, Blu-ray discs. You just don't see it. You see more, Blu-ray discs than the section for Blu-ray discs is much larger still than 4K Blu-ray. And even then, you're not. You look at. I think Netflix is doing 4K. And I want to say maybe DirecTV is too, but there isn't as much content as there was. You're right, and consoles can drive that, but I think content's going to drive more. I think 4K adoption than consoles will. Consoles will help some, but it's going to come down to content, to movies. And I just don't think there's just enough yet. And Maddie, that's a great point. Amazon's going 4K streaming. You're right. Yeah, and you're right. Content will grow there. We'll probably see more streaming content 4K than we will physical, which is a shame because physical is always the best, in my opinion. Best picture quality. Novi knows right. Toji, Ninja Gaiden, Splinter Cell, Jet Set Radio Future, Blood Awake, Crimson Sky, Jade Empire. Oh my God, Jade Empire was a phenomenal game. And Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, they to me, that's when they were really aggressive about going after games. I mean, you look at hey Sean, what's up, man? Long time, man. Glad you could hop in and join us, man. It's always good to see you in the live chat. I know it's been a long time, so Thank you for tuning in your car ride home, man. I appreciate it. Um, but Sean, I'd like to get your thoughts too, man, on where you think Xbox is heading. If you think it's becoming more of a services based console, if you will, as opposed to maybe more traditional, like in what we're seeing with Sony, to an extent Nintendo. Um, but yeah, I mean, I look at like all these, I look at at a time when they just were seemingly just very aggressive about getting content. And I just don't get the sense that they're doing that anymore. And again, I could be wrong. I mean, look, E3 is right around the corner, and they could just totally fucking drop a bomb on us, and we could all be like, "Whoa, yeah, like good." And I hope that happens because, look, at the end of the day, for me, I want Microsoft to be competitive because it's going to benefit everyone. I want Sony to be competitive. I want Nintendo to be competitive because at the end of the day, we're all consumers. We're all gamers. I love this industry. I've been gaming for 35 years. Competition's good. Competition's good. Competition drives innovation. It motivates. And I want to see that. And you know, I guess for me, just for me, the tough pill to swallow is if they go this route, whether or not that is going to be enough for me to stick around. I have a lot of friends on my friends list on Xbox Live, but a lot of those friends on Xbox Live are also on PlayStation Network too. So for me at least, the friends list may or may not be enough for me to stick around. Um, and just having third party content isn't enough for me either. I like Halo, I like Gears, but I want to see new innovative content from them. And part of that is because I see it from the competitor. I see it from the other platform that I own, the PlayStation. And I think to myself, okay, well, if Sony can do it, you guys can do it too. You know, um, I want to see that because as a gamer, I get excited about things like that, new experiences. And it's interesting. The other point I wanted to make, God, and this is going to be a long rant, by the way. This is supposed to be like a 30-minute rant, and I just keep going on and on and on and on. Um, but there's a lot to just, I think, for me to talk about with regarding Xbox. And then like we hear this about third party marketing deals, like they're not going there anymore. Um, yeah, Sean, you were right. When we first talked, you're right. I was a pretty big Xbox fan, and I was because that was my console of choice for such a long time. Um, and you're right. It's kind of crazy how things have changed over the 2 years that we've been friends. You're right. Um, yeah, and things have changed because the company's changed. The direction has changed. Like in my mind, it's changed. In what I've seen and what I'm hearing him say. When I say he, I mean Phil Spencer. When I see them talk about services and features and dashboard updates, and when I hear things of games as services, when I hear things of like Netflix, gaming needs a Netflix type service. Um, and I think that the other thing too is there's no investment in third party marketing deals for them. Like they're not doing that, and we can argue like you know how helpful those can be. I think you could say that they are helpful. I think it's a thing from a marketing perspective that will help move units. I think Microsoft benefited from that last console generation, but it's like it almost seems like Microsoft's like, hey, you know what? We're not investing on on marketing. We're not investing on, on new first party IPs. We're looking at building a hardware platform that's powerful, where if you want the best gaming experience from third party developers to play your favorite games, we have the console for you. If you want to, have a unique experience with your friends and you want to broadcast, we have a product for you. If you're looking for, some options of flexibility in terms of how you consume content, we have an option for you. We have, Xbox Game Pass. And to me, it's like that is a much different tune than, and I'll go back to Sony's E3. They were just showing games after games after games after games. And I understand that consoles are no longer just gaming consoles. I understand that people use gaming consoles to, um, stream Netflix, um, maybe watch a WWE pay per view, which I do on my Xbox One because I have the WWE app. Watch YouTube. I get that. I get that people do that. But at its very core, what a console does, its main function is to play video games. And that's why when I saw Sony's conference last year, that might have been a turning point for me as a consumer, and as a fan of gaming, where I started gravitating towards the PlayStation 4 more. And because I was getting the types of experiences that I just couldn't get on the Xbox One. I have, as I mentioned, I played Persona 5, one of the best games I played this console gen. I played Horizon Zero Dawn, which is one of the best games I've played this console gen. I would even argue that potentially those two games could be Game of the Year contenders. Persona 5 and Horizon Zero Dawn. And I guess and then I think what really. Oh wow, Sean, that's a great question. So Sean, the live chat says, "Do you think owning a PS4 this generation has helped you evolve and appreciate games you never would have, like Persona, Nier, etc.?" Yes, it actually has. Believe it or not, Persona 5 was the first Persona game that I actually played, and I'll share this story with you, Sean, and everyone else that's listening. When I fired up Persona 5, and so like gaming, like there's different types of, obviously games provide a variety of different experiences. We have games that give you kind of that sense of realism, what we see in Call of Duty. We get games that give us that sense of science fiction, what we see with Halo. We get these games that allow us to kind of escape from the real world, or from realism, and put us in these worlds that are fun, that are just full of life, that have interesting, complex characters. And Persona 5, I mean, when I fired up Persona 5, just the introduction, the intro to that game, it's like you turn it on and it's like this, like it has like a 70s funk theme to it. That's probably the best way I could describe it. It's like a 70s funk theme, and it's stylish. The intro is like a 70s action movie, if that makes any sense. It's a stylish game. It has a great story, great characters. Hey, what's up, Nels Coney? Yeah, and so it just, like Persona 5 just took me to another place in gaming that I don't think I've been in a long time. And that could be, part of that could be that, I was playing Horizon Zero Dawn prior to Persona 5. Like I just wrapped up Horizon Zero Dawn, which is, more of a realistic based game, if you will. And so, but there was just something like Persona 5 just had such unique artistic value to me, and it just was such a great gaming experience that it just, yes, it made me appreciate gaming um, just a little more. And I think, um, Sean, for me, I think that what you just said, it is certainly broadened my appreciation, and I've definitely evolved, and have grown as a gamer, because of the PlayStation 4. I can say that because of, now I haven't, I did play the demo for Near Automata, which was fantastic. I haven't played the retail release yet, but yeah, but even the small time or the short time that I invested into the demo, I mean, yeah, I was right there. And then, um, you know, I go back to a game like Abzu, which was an indie game which first released, on the PlayStation 4. That was another game that just was like, wow, it just took me to this, like, it kind of just reminded me, it took me back to why, I loved gaming in the first place, if that makes sense. So that was a great question, by the way. And I know it kind of just went a little bit of a tangent, kind of answering that question. But so, back to my point about, now they're not doing marketing deals, and a lot of the marketing deals locked up now. Um, I don't want to say Microsoft isn't trying, um, but the focus is somewhere else. And I said this earlier. The messaging in early on this console gen was, games, 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 and they did a phenomenal job. I think early on, in delivering content. You remember the best games lineup in Xbox history. That's something that was talked about a lot, but we don't hear that anymore. At least, and again, I could be wrong. E3 is right around the corner. I mean, Phil Spencer could just come out and just drop like 8 new IPs and just do a mic drop and be like, "I'm out," you know and we could all just be like, "Whoa!" And I hope that happened, because that would be great. It'd be great for the industry. It would be great for me as a consumer and as a gamer. But I'm just not so sure that's going to happen, just based on, the messaging that I'm seeing, that I'm hearing, that I'm reading. I kind of like to read between. I, I I try to read between the lines, when these guys are promoting a product, or are talking about, hey, what's up, Fastback? When these companies are talking about, or what Phil Spencer's talking about, excuse me, when he's talking about, and he says things like Netflix, and I think about the direction Microsoft is heading as a company. They want to be a multi-device services based company, and I always go back to that, and I think, okay, well, how does the Xbox fit in that? Let's not forget. I mean, Microsoft was kind of left to its Xbox. The Xbox division was kind of left to its own devices for many years um, before things kind of, before they realized, like, the suits realized, oh shit, like, we can make money off this. Things changed. I'll never forget the story that Ed Freeze told about, Halo 2, where the suits wanted to push the release of Halo 2. It really wasn't, quite ready yet to be released, and, he threatened to quit. He said, "Hey, look, if you guys do this, I'm out of here." And, that time he got his way, but that would be the last time, that he got his way in that regard. And then, you go back to the design of the Xbox One console. I just and then Satya Nadella taking over, and then kind of the philosophy, or the culture, or the shift, of the company. And I keep asking myself, well, how does the Xbox brand fit into this? Like, where does Xbox fit into how Microsoft operates as a company? And I go back to my point earlier. I think for Sony, the PlayStation is its, for all intents and purposes, it's bread and butter. And they're really invested in driving content, listening to the gaming community. And I'm not saying that Microsoft does. They do. Obviously, they have listened to, improving things, in terms of, dashboard updates. I think Phil was giving a shit sandwich, and has, to the best of his ability, done what he can do, given what he's allowed to do. How, obviously, they don't have a blank check, which is interesting, because and I was thinking about this the other day. Like, you look at IO Interactive. They're like Nels Coney says, I remember when Aries was on LG with Warrior Word and some smoking hot woman. Uh, dude, that was Amber, and I don't. My goodness, man. Um, Fastback in the live chat says, agree. Xbox silent on deals, etc. But do think Phil is refocused first party studios going forward. They have to do what Sony did last gen, or else. I gotta be honest with you, Fastback. I'm not. Uh, my opinion, just based on going from the best gaming lineup in Xbox history to talking about delivering content to now maybe focusing more on features as opposed to content. I think I really think they're putting the burden and the risk of um, big AAA development on third parties. I don't see them taking that risk anymore. And again, I look, I could be off base. Matty B's called Mike Mullis the Barry Melrose of gaming. Oh my god, that is so funny. Oh man, I wish. Oh my god, I wish Mike was here to see that. That is hilarious. The Barry Melrose. Um, oh shit, that is too funny. Yeah, Fastback. I just don't see it. Look, if you guys in live chat, if you guys disagree with me, tell me. If you guys feel like they're risk adverse and they're letting the third party developers take all the risk and they're just focusing on providing the hardware and the services to deliver content and create new experiences in terms of how gamers interact with each other and how they consume content, let me know. But I think that's the direction they're heading. I really do. I just think that that's the direction they're heading, and I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know how. Um, I don't know how that's going to resonate with the gaming community. And I've noticed that more recently. I've seen some individuals that are huge Xbox fans that have kind of expressed this in a way that they're kind of like, well, what's going on? Like, what's happening here? And I go back to the point I made earlier. Like, we can chastise Sony and make fun of Sony for showing things at their E3 press conference last year that might not come out to 2018 or 2019. But at least we have a roadmap in terms of future content that's going to be releasing on the PlayStation 4. And that's huge. That's huge. Nels Coney brings up an interesting point. Microsoft wants to be the gatekeeper for your games, kind of like Steam, right, Nels Coney? I mean, I brought up that point earlier. I think the Xbox is going to be the Steam box. And again, I want to preface this again. This isn't a bash of Microsoft. I know I'll have some fanboys listen to this and they'll get their panties in a bunch because they're emotionally tied to plastic and they'll say, "Oh, you're just a Sony pony, or you don't know what the hell you're talking about, or die scum," some crazy shit like that. No, I'm not. Like, you can have. Here's the thing. Like, you have to be. You can't truly be a fan of something without being critical of it as well. Like, it just doesn't, like, when you turn a blind, and this was my last BRAP rant from Monday. You just can't turn a blind eye, and make excuses for companies. Like, this is, you're spending money on these products. You just can't make excuses. If they may put out something that is terrible for you. You can't make excuses. Anyhow, that was Monday's rant. Um, so Nels Coney says, yes, compared to Sony, who has their fingers on so many other creative things, music, movies, etc. Yeah, no, that's a thing. I mean, and I've talked to a lot of gamers that they brought up that point. Like, they know what they have a good sense in terms of what the roadmap for software content looks like for PlayStation. but they don't know what it looks like for Microsoft for the Xbox One. I think this E3 for me is about them showing me that roadmap. Um, and yeah, Novi, you're right. Novi Nov says I need to feel confident in this product. We all do. We all should feel confident. I mean, why wouldn't you want to feel confident? And this is the thing that kills me. If you don't, if you have been, and look, as Sean said earlier, he said, when we first started talking 2 years ago, um, I was primarily an Xbox gamer, you know, and he has seen the evolution that I've gone through because of the changes that have, um, the changes that have come from um, some of the changes that have taken place at Xbox that just really haven't resonated with me. The lack of new IPs. I mean, when you own, at least for me, when you own multiple consoles like I do, and look, and I encourage if you have the means to do it, do it. Own both consoles. Hell, own 3 consoles if you can, because you'll get such a great variety of gaming experiences, and you have such a great appreciation for the hard work developers put into gaming, creating content, and just a great appreciation for some of the experiences that you'll experience. You'll have a nice variety of experiences. You'll be a better gamer for you. You have um, uh, a bigger outlook. Um, but it's interesting because you going through. Hey, look, and Sony, we could talk. Sony was slow out the gates, but they're kind of in that part of the console gen, like they are most console gens, where they're kind of spreading their legs out now, and they've kind of that ball's moving now. They're now Sony's hitting that point in the console gen, as they typically do, where they're putting out a lot of content. You look what they did early on in this year; it was just incredible, incredible. And as I was sitting there playing these great games and having these remarkable gaming experiences with games like Persona 5, I was like thinking to myself, or like a game like Horizon Zero Dawn, I was thinking to myself, God, I would love to have these kinds of experiences on the Xbox. And I haven't had those kinds of experiences on the Xbox, truthfully, probably since the 360 when Gears dropped. I mean, there's a sense of, as a gamer, when you have this great IP, this sense of like wonderment, like this, oh wow. Like, have you guys had that wow moment when you're gaming and you just, it's a new game, new character, and you're just like, wow. I that's to me has been missing on the Xbox One this console gen. Look, I had my wow moment with the Master Chief. Been there, done that. I had my wow moment with Marcus Phoenix. Been there, done that. Now people can argue, oh, well, Nintendo does Mario all the time and Zelda. They do. Um, but they're so different, and they almost take the worlds that they put you in, the stories that they deliver are kind of like the wow. You know, uh, I mean, Breath of the Wild is wow. I mean, I've been playing Zelda games since I was 11 years old, and they continue to wow me. But not many people can do what Nintendo does in that regard. Novi No said Rise, Son of Rome gave me wow. Rise kind of gave me a little bit of wow. Uh, but it gave me kind of this that game needs a sequel. There's potential that game, I think. Yeah, Nels Coney, you're right. Where's right? Nels Coney, Microsoft wanted to buy Rise, but stupid Crytek didn't want to sell it. So, and look where they're at now. Um, Hey Jay Burgos in live chat says Scalebound was going to be that IP. Yeah, I mean, think about that. A platinum games exclusive on the Xbox One, a new character, a new IP in this fantasy setting. That was like, whoa. You know what? Novi, you're right. Rise got died because it got killed critically. Yeah, but do you think? Let me ask you something, Novi. If you think that a game like Rise would have potentially got a sequel on the PlayStation 4, I mean, Knack's getting a sequel. We know how Knack wasn't critically acclaimed. um, um, but yeah, I mean, it's just so those wow moments have been missing for me, and Scalebound was going to be that wow. So I think that I think it's fair. Like if you are primarily an Xbox gamer, an Xbox fan, or an Xbox guy, um, I think it's fair to kind of raise these questions and say, wait a minute, like what the hell's going on here? We have canceled IPs. We went from the uh, talk of best gaming lineup in Xbox history to we don't believe in marketing deals anymore, to the talk featuring more not necessarily content but more features, new features in terms of how you interact with people and how you experience gaming. Um, Things have changed. I mean, I just I don't see how you can. And you know what? And I'll say this: I'm not one to tell anyone that if they're okay with that they shouldn't be okay. I'll just say this much: for me, it's those are great. It's great there that it may be great for someone else, but it may not be good for me as a consumer. And I could see myself um, with what Sony has coming out of the PlayStation 4. Yeah, and I potentially see myself gaming more on the PlayStation 4. And I got to be honest with you guys, it's the first time since the PlayStation 2 that the PlayStation has been my primary console right now. It hasn't happened in a long time since the PlayStation 2. Yeah, Jay, tell nobody to play Persona 5. It's a great game. Be prepared to spend a lot of hours, though. It's long. I've completed the game in 126 hours. Yeah, so um, yeah, everyone in the live chat is had some really great comments, insight into what's going on. Yeah, Maddie Beast. Some people actually, I wouldn't mind seeing an Order 1886 sequel. That's probably not happen, but you never know, Maddie. You never know. I don't think it's gonna happen, but you never know. Sony is always surprising sometimes. Um, Maddie brings up all the money pissed away on R&D on the Connect, HoloLens, monthly dashboard updates, and new weekly controllers. The controller thing's interesting because um, I used to see people trolling on Twitter that Sony got another game, but Xbox got another controller this week. um, yeah, but those the controllers from a business standpoint are cheap for Microsoft to make, and they bring in a lot of money. Again, we got to remember these companies are for-profit organizations. Um, HoloLens is dumb as hell. I don't know. No, I don't think. I think HoloLens has a future and some practical use in science and medicine. Not sure how it's going to translate in gaming. Um, but Matty Beast, back to your point about Connect. You're right, man. I mean, they pissed a lot of money away on Connect. They really did. And looking at it now, I mean, I have the Connect on my TV. That piece of shit doesn't even work anymore. It's a brick on my TV now, and I keep it up there as a reminder. So, um, but yeah, I mean, and this goes back to my point. I think that you know they've taken it on the chin so many times that they're maybe a little risk adverse to. They know the risk. They know how costly it can be to invest in new IPs. Um, I just don't get the sense that they're looking to take chances on investing in new IPs, first party IPs that might not sell well, or marketing deals that might not move units for them. Um, or marketing deals like, look what happened with Rise of the Tomb Raider. Uh, that was an interesting marketing deal. I don't think that really did much to really benefit Microsoft. Um, oh, Jay, you have to play The Last of Us. Yeah, you got to. So Jay in the live chat says Persona 5 is my favorite Sony exclusive since Uncharted 2. Keep in mind, I haven't played The Last of Us. You need to play The Last of Us. You need to play The Last of Us. And Maddie's right. That's high praise, Jay, for Persona 5. It's. I'm telling you. I wasn't a big. I'm not a big huge fan of turn-based combat. Like, to me, that's like, I've been there. I shouldn't say been there, done that. That's um yeah, to me, that's just a time where a long time. To me, like, turn-based combat is. I don't want to say it's archaic, but it's yeah. Anyhow, it's not my cup of tea anymore. I did enjoy it in Final Fantasy 15, but I really enjoyed it in Persona 5. Like, the turn-based combat was really cool. And actually, it was a pretty deep combat system. Let's see. Fastback says I've enjoyed gaming on Xbox 1,000 hours in ARC because of game preview, and he's having good like Straw Dew Valley. Yeah, and that's, I will say that to Microsoft's credit, like, they've definitely done a good job in terms of developing stronger relationships with indies. I like that preview program a la Steam. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think they've done a good job. But what's interesting with the market, I just want to touch base on the marketing deals. It almost seems like Sony's got a lot of the marketing deals lined up. The next Assassin's Creed, I think Microsoft's going to have that locked up. But Microsoft's not going to have FIFA. Sony's going to have that. You know, um, so Sony's got Star Wars, and Star Wars is going to sell like hotcakes because the new Star Wars movie comes out. Um, Sony has Destiny 2. And so this is the part that's really confuses me. It's like, geez, like, how do you not have these marketing deals? And I get it. Probably some of it is, developers are more inclined to maybe have marketing deals with Sony because of Sony's install base. We know that they're globally, they have that 2-to-1 advantage. Um, but for me, just, and I go back to, and I think sometimes I have a different perspective than some other gamers, because I've been gaming on the Xbox since the OG Xbox, and I've kind of seen kind of the change in trajectory, if you will, with the console, where they've gone. They started from the bottom and got to the top of the mountain, kind of slid down the mountain a little bit, and that's so. And so for me, seeing a lot of the changes and hearing the change in tone and conversation, um, that's enough to give me pause and say, man, like, what's going on? What's going on? And Novi, you're right. I mean, this is kind of the perfect time for them to incubate IPs. Just as Sony did last gen, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're just too risk adverse to do it. I think they invested in building Scorpio, and I think that their platform is going to be like, hey, you know what? We got the most powerful console. We're going to have the best looking games. If you want the best gaming experience, you want 60 frames a second, you want 4K, you want the best performing games, come, we have a console for you. And we also have Game Pass. We also have Mixer. I just think that's the direction they're heading. Um, and look, Sony does a masterful job at creating new IPs, and it's not just creating new IPs; it's creating quality IPs where they are bringing in people who are going to come back and buy a PlayStation 5 to play Horizon Zero Dawn 2. So, geez, Matty Beast, I don't think if Sunset Overdrive 2 um, came to PlayStation 4 as exclusive, that I think that would be telling. Um, so, yeah, yeah, that would be interesting. But, geez, guys, eh, I told the guys earlier today we weren't going to have a podcast tonight because it was a slow news week. And then I just, I reading some tweets today and just, having a conversation with my man Eric Jackson. Um, we were just talking about gaming in general, and Xbox came up because E3 is right around the corner, and their conference is coming up on Sunday, not this Sunday, but I think 2 Sundays from now, or 2 Sundays from this Sunday. Um, I started thinking about our conversation and things that I've seen on Twitter, and so I said, what the hell, I'm going to do another BRAP rant about the direction of Xbox. So yeah, I'm not so sure where they're going. Hopefully E3 um, gives us a little more insight. But at the same time, I just feel like, and I could be Debbie Downer here, but I just feel like what we're going to see is indies, and I think a lot of the talk is going to be about Scorpio. I think that's going to be the focus. I think we get some new game announcements. I don't see much from a first party perspective. Matty Beast, I'm sorry, you are right. It is a week from this Sunday. Microsoft's E3 press conference is a week from this coming Sunday. Um, yeah, Novi, no, that's my point. Is games or Xbox as a service? I mean, it's an everywhere platform. I mean, they open up to PC, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not against that. I think that obviously has a benefit to consumers. The more consumers have access to content, the better. But yeah, I want to see their roadmap. Microsoft, you guys need to show me why I need the Scorpio. You need to show me why I should put my PlayStation 4 controller down or my Nintendo Switch down. And here's the other thing. Not a lot of people are talking about Nintendo. The Switch is doing well. Mr. Megadev, who's one of our co-hosts on BRAP, who's also um, the founder of the Super Deform Gamescast, which goes live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He's been saying this, that he thinks the Switch is going to take NPD every month now moving forward, so long as they can meet demand. And Nintendo is said they're stepping up production to meet demand. And it's rumored, we're hearing rumors of a new Mario game. We're hearing rumors um, of a new Metroid game. Um, oh wow! So Tipsy Gamer saying the Xbox will send it all to themselves. It's only going to be an hour-long show. I haven't. Tipsy, did you read that? Did you read that on a gaming site? That's the first time I'm that I've heard this. Um, that's interesting. An hour long. Let's see. I mean, I think that Fastback is saying should be 90 minutes. That's what I think they are typically 90 minutes. Okay, so Maddie's saying he heard Greenberg took to Twitter. and said it's 90 minutes. The Twitch stream schedule showed it as an hour. All right, so is it 90 minutes or an hour? Yeah, I don't think it's a. I think it's 90. I mean, it's always 90 minutes long. It's always an hour and 30 minutes. Yeah, I don't. Maddie Beast is like, I'm not sure it matters. um, I think it's going to be mostly. I think it's going to be a lot of. Hey, Crowbar, what's going on, man? I just saw you in the chat. By the way, anyone who is who's joined us as a new listener, thank you again, man. Definitely, appreciate you stopping by to check out Basement Radio Arcade. Again, this is our usual Wednesday night podcast. This is something new that I just started doing on this past Monday. What I call the BRAP rant. um, but I think that when I think about the E3 press conference, I think for them it's just going to be a lot about showing some of the third party content that they have running on Scorpio. Um, indies. I think we'll see some VR talk. Um, but I don't see. I just don't see them coming out with a new first party IP or anything like that. I just don't see it. So yeah, that's just my thoughts. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of eyes are going to be on E3, Microsoft's E3 conference. And look, they have they're going to have they're going to go into E3. They're going to be first. They're going to have a good 24 hours. Um, Crowbar says, "Call it the Brant." I like that. um, they're gonna. I mean, they're gonna have the stage themselves for 24 hours until Sony comes on board or Sony comes on stage. So that's why I think a lot of the focus is going to be on hardware. It's going to be on Scorpio, and for me, if that's the case, that just it's to me, it's a little bit of a. I'll be disappointed. I'll be disappointed. So, um, all right, Novi. What did someone say to you, Novi? He's saying that someone said something that he thought was brilliant. I'm not sure what he's referring to. All right. So, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and oh, okay. So, there's some talk in the live chat right now. I think Novi Nov said, "Do y'all think a Scorpio controller is going to change from standard Xbox One controller?" Um, Matty B says he doubts it. Midlife cycle refresh and all old controls will work with it. And Novi said that somebody said this to him that what he thought was brilliant that Microsoft will not include the controller because you already own an Xbox One controller, therefore bringing down the price of the console. So, Tipsy, the thing is, so Sony has a whole 24 hours to counter. Yeah, I mean, to an extent. So Adam Boyce kind of talked about this on the Inner Circle podcast. They interviewed him, and he said that a lot of it, with regards to E3, most of that stuff's already set in stone. They typically don't deviate from announcements or kind of counter based on what, uh, in this case, Microsoft would do. So I don't know if that's going to. I don't see them countering it just based on what Adam Boy said. Xbox will be at Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show. And everyone's talked about Phil Spencer's visit to Japan. Hopefully that yields something. Maybe Near Automata comes to to Xbox One, which I think would be great. Give the opportunity for more people to play it. Um, the thing is, people need to support games like that if they really want those experiences. They have to. So, um, but on that note, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this rant. This this was only supposed to be 30 minutes long, and it turned into geez, like what, like an hour and 20 minutes, I think. So, um, and we had some good turnout. So, I just want to thank everyone in the live chat for stopping by tonight, and for a lot of the first timers who stopped in to listen to the BRAP rant. I thank you again, and if you haven't already, give us a like, subscribe, and tell your friends about us. You know, we're trying to grow this channel to bring you on more content, to get more industry guests on. We've been lucky. We've had Ryan McCaffrey on from IGN. We had David Jaffe, creator of God of War, Twisted Metal. He was on, and we had Greg Casavin, I'm sorry, from Supergiant Games. And Christian Allen, game developer. He's worked on games like Shadow Mordor, some of the Ghost Recon games, uh, during the times of the OG Xbox. So, but yeah, again, big shout out to everyone who joined us tonight, and it was great seeing some of our returning guests or returning listeners in the live chat. As always, positive live chat. Love the conversations that we're having as gamers in the live chat. Again, we don't tolerate any of the fanboy nonsense here. We just don't do that. Um, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this BRAP rant again, which is supposed to go 30 minutes. And hey, we'll be back on next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll be me, the rest of the crew, and we'll be talking. There will be actually our pre E3 show. We'll be giving our thoughts and predictions for E3 2017. So you definitely want to tune in for that. Big shout out again to everyone in the live chat, and we'll catch you guys next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And other than that, gamers, remember to game on, but more importantly, have fun doing so, because that is what gaming is all about having fun. So on that note, I'm out. We will see you guys next Wednesday. Peace.